Hey there, guys. This is Chief Meteorologist Ben Pine in the First Alert Storm Team Weather Center alongside Storm Team Meteorologist Alden Sherman. Alden, this looks like a really wet situation that we have here.
Yeah, we have flood concerns for sure with all this rain that's going to be, or that is currently pushing through the area. But the good news is that our severe weather threat at the moment looks like it's been diminishing a little bit.
Yeah, and you can see the atmosphere that we have. I'll go ahead and put on max 3 here. You can see we are, what we often just say, getting really worked over as far as the atmosphere, and that means things are churned over as far as the unstable air is concerned. The air is becoming more stable. You see temperatures down to 64 in Litchfield, so this has become a very, very heavy rainmaker. So that means the tornado threat really, really reduced. We still have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that we're watching out to the west of Litchfield, kind of south of Evansville. Right now we're 71 in Louisville, and we've got just plain old rainfall with some embedded thunder. And so really no severe thunderstorm warnings, no tornado warnings within our WHAS11 viewing area at this time. We picked up quite a bit of rainfall here so far in some spots. Let me go ahead and bring up how much rainfall we've seen. 3 inches now around Litchfield and some more rainfall on the way. So we're kind of on a flood search here for much of the rest of this evening time, watching out for some flash flood warnings. I want to show you the alerts that we have in place. Flood watch until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then we have in the pink area still a tornado watch that has recently been expanded to the east a little bit that to include Marion County. But does still include until 10 p.m. Grayson, Breckenridge, Meade, Hardin, LaRue, Hart, Greene, Taylor, and Adair counties and Perry County in Indiana. With that said, we do believe the tornado threat has really diminished across the region. I want to go back here and show you another reason why the severe weather threat looks like it has diminished across the region. So you've got a tornado warning to the north of Nashville and to the south of Nashville. And we also have a cluster of storms that's firing up out west in Missouri. We've got to watch that for later on tonight. But as we switch this into the storm fuel graphic, our area, again, as I said earlier, worked over from all the showers and thunderstorms, so we're cooler. The air has become more stable. This is a look at the convective available potential energy. Just think of the fuel for storms to become severe and very strong. Look at that bright color off to the southwest. Basically a line from Paducah to Nashville southwest is where that air is really juiced up. So a lot of times the line of storms will feed on that. So that means we might see the severe weather threat tracking more to the southwest with time. And that would match up with where the severe weather threat risk from the Storm Prediction Center has shifted throughout the day today. Moderate risk in far western Kentucky down to Nashville into Missouri, southern Illinois. And then so you can see in general the risk of severe weather is greater off to the southwest. And if Alden, you see some comments you want to point out, feel free to.
I've seen a couple comments from people mentioning quite a bit of hail. We did have hail earlier up to about the size or bigger than the size of golf balls a couple of times. So that is large enough to cause damage to your cars. But thankfully, we haven't really seen too much in the way of large hail lately. It's probably, if you are seeing a lot of that hail, smaller than the size of a quarter, so around penny or nickel size. This is some of that hail from earlier in Logan County from Chris McLeod of the Logan County Search and Rescue there. So pretty healthy stuff out there for that hail. But right now, probably in the range from P up to about quarter size in diameter. But as mentioned, what we're really getting more concerned with now is going to be that flood potential, especially if areas like Litchfield and Grayson County have seen over 3 inches of rainfall since midnight. That ground's going to be super saturated.
So I want to do a quick tour of the radar, show you where we have some really heavy areas of rainfall, and then we're going to look at Futurecast and help you plan ahead. So this is a look at lightning strikes, still about 500 lightning strikes in this view. And we do have a strong thunderstorm to the south of Louisville, just east of I-65. There was some hail in that. Our storm chaser, John Humphreys and Reed Yaden, are down there near that storm in LaRue County. But again, this is just regular old rainfall over Louisville, keeping the roads wet, very heavy out west into Harrison County and Perry County in Indiana. As you go farther off to the south, this is a strong thunderstorm with some hail. Down 31 from Hodgenville to Magnolia, so LaRue and into Hart County. And these storms have been generally moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. So on that track, this is going to continue to move basically due east, and that's going to put it towards Badger at about 7:15, Allendale 6:15 Central, Summersville at around 6:25 Central Time, Saloma around 7:30. Now, Saloma and Taylor County did have a report of some trees down there and some flooding as well there in Taylor County. Campbellsville, this storm could be heading your direction around 7:40, 7:45 at Arista at around 7:45 as well. And in the Mansville, as we head around 7:50, 7:55 Eastern Time. Let me go ahead and clear that off and look at some more storms and heavy rainfall in Grayson County. So as Alden mentioned, 3 inches of rain in Grayson County, and it continues to pile up. So that would probably be the primed area for the potential of some flash flood concerns. Severe thunderstorm warning farther out west towards Madisonville, Masonville, and south of Evansville. So some strong thunderstorms out that way. But again, we might see some storms tracking more along that gradient of unstable air farther off to the south. And also notice quite a few flash flood warnings farther out to the west. So what's going to happen with this big blob of rainfall? Let's take a look at what Futurecast has. And it's picking up on the activity that we have out there now. Not perfect necessarily, but showing just basically that big glob of rain that we have over the viewing area. And it doesn't have as much out west. Well, that's still around Evansville. I just want to kind of point that out. But it has a lot of that dissipating, moving out by around 9 p.m. Temperatures in the 60s, so the air is pretty stable. And then what we're waiting on is the cold front and the potential squall line. But notice it's a little stronger off to the south than it is in our viewing area. So I'm thinking, Alden, minimal chance of severe weather impacts from that as it moves through.
And you can also see that it begins to weaken some too as it continues to push southward. And since we're going to be on the northern edge of that, there's not going to be as much fuel for those storms to work with, because everything to the south is going to be trying to eat all of that up.
Yep, so it's all about where the storm fuel is, and the energy is to our south, for the remainder of this evening for the most part. So this is the cold front, the potential squall line. This is around 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m. So even though this would be a very low-end severe weather threat for the rest of tonight, everything really diminishes after midnight. And then where do we go from here? We'll have some clouds around tomorrow morning in the lower 60s. And then tomorrow the clouds clear out in the afternoon, some upper 70s to near 80 degrees. It's been hinting at maybe an isolated shower kind of popping up with the heat of the day, but it looks like we're going to be mostly dry. And then some cooler air begins to work in for our Friday. And it looks like we'll head down to the, oops, I kind of jumped ahead there. Here's Friday afternoon, down to the 60s for highs. So kind of a brief cool spell before the weekend as we head back into the 70s for our Mother's Day weekend. All right, advancing to a look outside now at the rainy conditions, looking over U of L here, 71 at Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, 69 at Bowman Field, south wind at 10. And just to give you a look at the 7-day forecast, you got that cool spot there on Friday with upper 60s. 72 Saturday, mostly dry. Mother's Day looks about like perfect, 75. And then into PGA Championship week for the first few practice rounds, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, upper 70s. Maybe starting to introduce some pop-up showers there Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, so back to the radar we will go. Again, we just wanted to pop on here and actually, provide maybe a little sense of relief that the tornado threat's going down this evening, Alden, and then just kind of ramping up that flood threat and watching out for that.
And flooding is still going to be a concern too, so it's not like we can completely let our guard down.
Yeah.
We always say, turn around, don't drown when you come up to those flooded areas and you don't know how deep that water is. And we could also have some gusty winds with any of these storms tonight as well. But thankfully, as we saw on the 7-day, we are going to have a long stretch to really dry out, and our rain chances don't really begin to return until almost a week from today after we're done with this activity.
And I can't wait for more sunshine. I mean, my grass is about this tall in my yard, so there's a lot of yard work, probably not only myself, but maybe some of you will need to do. And Laura said, thank goodness we'll be able to sleep tonight, and thank goodness for sure, because we've had a lot of these events that are late night, and that's tough on our shifts because we need to cover this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So some of us have been getting very little sleep around the weather department. So I'm with you, Laura, that we'll catch some Z's later on tonight. Cece, thank goodness that it's not as bad as once thought, and prayers to everything with the flooding. Yeah, anytime we can dodge a severe weather threat, I am always for that. And you know, we've had a little bit of severe weather today as far as the hail. Looks like we had some trees down in Taylor County. I actually had a tree down in my yard, Alden, a big, large chestnut oak, just because it was on a hill and the root ball got saturated and just the weight of the tree fell over, not the wind speed. So there could be some of that, as well as if we get some gusty winds tonight or even tomorrow with the saturated soil with some wind gusts maybe 20 miles an hour. There might be, you know, if you have some trees on some hills, there might be some that end up falling over just from the saturated root systems that we're going to have. So again, we could pick up an additional inch or two of rainfall over the next several hours as this batch moves through. Let me go ahead and put max 3 back up so you can see this.
But a positive from all of this rain too is as we get closer and deeper into the warm season, kind of staving off drought conditions for a little while as well. And this is also going to be good for a lot of the summer crops that are going to need to be cut coming up too. So there are some pros to this, but at the same time, you can't get too much of a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, everything is just going to be super lush and green after just a tropical rain that we have around the area. And we got, just looking at some comments, Zach Johnson, decent lightning and thunder in Shelbyville. So yeah, there's a few lightning strikes, but mostly just kind of some moderate, steady rainfall there. And then we've got more just kind of clusters of showers and thunderstorms that are not severe that you can see out to the west of Louisville. So it looks like there's a pretty good chance over the next hour or two that the rain rates will be picking up in the metro Louisville area. I want to go back to this thunderstorm here that's likely moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. I'm going to go take these temperatures off so you can see more of the towns. And then we'll do a track with this storm right here. We started off with a track, we'll do another one. So this is like the strongest storm that we have in our viewing area. There's not a warning on it, but there might be some gusty winds up to around 40, 50 miles per hour. There's a concentration of lightning strikes in there too. And so this is moving right around that Hart and Greene County line and heading towards Donensburg, Summersville, Greensburg, Campbellsville, and Mansville over the next half hour or so. Just a heads up, some gusty winds, heavy rainfall, maybe some hail out of that. It looked like some dime-sized hail from our storm chaser Reed Yaden out there with John Humphreys still tracking. So we were kind of talking with them too, because they're out there chasing in Kentucky, that, you know, instead of chasing, you know, trying to chase tornadoes, chasing the potential for some flooding. So just we still don't have any flash flood warnings in Kentucky at this time. There was for a little while a storm that just was sitting near North Vernon in Indiana, so that did put down a flash flood warning there, but so far we haven't had any major concerns of flooding yet.
And speaking of concerns, James asked if we have anything to worry about with the next round of storms coming in from the northwest of Kentucky. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. That's going to be a bit difficult for those storms to really have a lot of energy to work with. They're pretty strong right now, as it looks like there's a tornado emergency.
Tornado on the ground south of Nashville.
Wow, that's not good. But
and that's that more unstable air we were talking about. Again, as I put this back on, they have way more energy to work with. So let me see if I can draw on this just to make this a little more clear. So this area right here, this is a gradient where south of that line right there, so all of this in here is just incredibly juiced up atmosphere that wants to explode. And on this line is where we're finding some of the strongest thunderstorms. Now over our area, again, like I said earlier when we just tuned in, all of this has been worked over by showers and thunderstorms, so the air is a lot more stable for the rest of tonight. So we do believe that the storm threat that is now developing in Missouri and Arkansas is going to want to feed on this right here. So that would mean that these storms take more of a track like this, which again is a little bit south of our area. And so as we bring back up the radar and satellite here, let me switch it back over. load this up. We'll look out to those storms out west, which would be, again, the next threat if it were going to head our way. So there is a tornado warning south of St. Louis, but there's, again, that's on the edge of that unstable air. As it tracks our direction, I would expect it would be on a weakening trend as it moves into our viewing area. But that is an area that we are watching. That is along the cold front. And so this would be the last batch moving through our area. But there are some indications that the strongest part of that will move this direction while this area is more stable, if that makes sense. So tornado warning south of St. Louis as it moves our direction into more stable air. Should be on a weakening trend, while anything down here could remain very strong. And that is why the Storm Prediction Center has those areas off to the south under that much higher risk of severe storms. So good question there. And again, we still have a tornado watch in place. Still have to watch some maybe embedded storms that kind of go rogue and maybe ingest some of the turning winds that are down to the south for the potential of an isolated spin-up tornado. So there you can still see that we have a tornado watch for these areas south of Louisville. That includes Breckenridge, Meade, Hardin, LaRue, Grayson, Hart, Greene, Taylor, Adair, and Marion counties until 10 p.m. and also Perry County in Indiana. Much of the rest of the area under that flood watch until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Ben, your telestrating skills would make an NFL analyst proud.
I do like to draw, Alden. I do like to draw.
So after about 11 o'clock, Laura was asking what time will the last batch move through our area. Probably around that 11 to midnight time frame,
Yeah.
and even by around then, things should really be starting to weaken. But we'll still be here to keep an eye on it, and that tornado threat should largely be done by around 10 o'clock tonight as well.
So if we sum this all up and we wrap up here, and thanks for the comments and thanks for watching here on YouTube and on Facebook and on our WHS11 app, is that tornado threat starting to go down tonight. That is good. Flood threat still elevated for the rest of tonight. Minimal damaging wind threat as that squall line moves in later tonight. It's moving into more stable air. So as far as damaging winds, tornado threat diminishing, flood threat still up there. So that's kind of what the summary is for the rest of tonight. If we start to get some of the flooding concerns, flash flood warnings, we'll have that information at the bottom of the screen on WHS11.com. Of course, we have our alerts on WHS11 as well. And we'll be up on 11 o'clock on the night team with all of the latest information as well. And hopefully by the night team, things are really settling down as well.
Yep. We'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.